Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Sandals Church Youth. It is McKay, your online youth lead. Back for week three of love letters. We're still going through the book of 1 John. We are halfway through. I hope that this series is helping you guys learn how to read the Bible. That is my ultimate hope and goal for this series, is just to show you guys that reading the Bible is accessible. It's a lot easier than we make it out to be, and that God wants to speak to you through it. So let's just dive right into it. 1 John 3. We continue from last week where we had that section, Children of God. John continues in chapter 3 saying, "See what kind of love the Father has given to us, that we should be called children of God, and so we are. The reason why the world does not know us is that it does not know Him. Beloved, we are God's children now, and what we will be has not yet appeared, but we know that when He appears, we shall be like Him, because we shall see Him as He is. And everyone who thus hopes in Him purifies himself as He is pure. Everyone who makes a practice of sinning also practices lawlessness. Sin is lawlessness. You know that He appeared to take away sins, and in Him there is no sin. No one who abides in Him keeps on sinning. No one who keeps on sinning has either seen Him or known Him. Little children, let no one deceive you. Whoever practices righteousness is righteous, as he is righteous. Whoever makes a practice of sinning is of the devil, for the devil has been sinning from the beginning. The reason the Son of God appeared was to destroy the works of the devil. No one born of God makes a practice of sinning, for God's seed abides in him, and he cannot keep on sinning because he has been born of God. By this it is evident who are the children of God and who are the children of the devil. Whoever does not practice righteousness is not of God, nor is the one who does not love his brother. For this is the message that you have heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. We should not be like Cain, who was of the evil one and murdered his brother. And why did he murder him? Because his own deeds were evil and his brother's righteous. Do not be surprised, brothers, that the world hates you. We know that we have passed out of death into life because we love the brothers. Whoever does not love abides in death. Everyone who hates his brother is a murderer, and you know that no murderer has eternal life abiding in him. By this we know love, that He laid down His life for us, and we ought to live our lives for the brothers. If anyone has the world's goods and sees his brother in need, yet closes his heart against him, how does God's love abide in him? Little children, let us not love in word or in talk, but in deed and in truth. By this we shall know that we are of the truth, and reassure our heart before Him. For whenever our heart condemns us, God is greater than our heart. God is greater than our heart, and He knows everything. Beloved, if our heart does not condemn us, we have confidence before God, and whatever we ask, we receive of Him, because we keep His commandments and do what pleases Him. And this is His commandment, that we believe in the name of the Son of Jesus Christ and love one another, just as He commanded us. Whoever keeps His commandments abides in God, and God in him. And by this we know that He abides in us by the Spirit whom He has given." Super simple, 24 verses, continuing on from chapter 2, where John is really trying to help his readers understand that to live out this Christian walk, to live out a faith, is to love one another. I spent a lot of time reading this chapter this morning and a little bit before this. I was going to say these past few days, that would have been a lie. Forgive me. But this morning I was sitting in my quiet time and reading this, and I was reflecting on two things I found really important in this. Verse 10, "By this it is evident who are the children of God and who are the children of the devil. Whoever does not practice righteousness is not of God, nor is the one who does not love his brother." Using the real method for the sake of continuing our practice, I read this over a few times, extracted the main point, is to love your brother. Apply it to my life. It was one of those things where I read this and I kind of took a step back looking at the world that's going on around us. It's no surprise what kind of year we're in. It's an election year. I know a lot of you guys are just now getting to the point where you can vote, and a lot of you guys have strong feelings about the election and the future of our country. And that's okay. It's okay to worry about how our country's ran. That's part of living in the United States. One of the things that was really sticking out to me and how I applied this to my life is, if this election is going to be anything like the ones we've had before, a lot of people are going to have a lot of very strong opinions and be very divisive about it. Applying this to my life means, while I may have opinions on how things are ran, what is more important than any of that is showing love to all of my brothers and sisters. That is in the church, and that's also outside of the church. One of the main points that John is continually focusing on through the book of 1 John is how big of an impact our love will be a witness to other people. If you guys go to public school, if you go to private school, if you go to any kind of school, I'm sure you are not surprised to see people act one way on campus and a different way inside of Wednesday nights, inside of youth group, inside of your local church. And that's one of the biggest things that can hinder people from coming to church. I know when I was in high school and I was super involved in my church, people knew that I went to church. But then at school, if I was not acting in love to other people, it was very quickly pointed out like, oh, aren't you the Christian kid? Like, aren't you supposed to be acting this specific way? And that was very convicting for me growing up as a teenager, because I was like, oh yeah, I should be carrying myself in a way that exemplifies Christ. Now, before we dive deeper into that thought, because I would hold a lot of shame and guilt and like, oh man, I really messed that up. I'm always going to be this type of person, you know? I'm always going to be someone that is falling short, sinning. And what verse was it that like really kind of ministered to me in this? Verse 19, by this we shall know that we are of the truth and reassure our heart before him. For whenever our heart condemns us, God is greater than our heart, and he knows everything. Beloved, if our heart does not condemn us, we have confidence before God, and whatever we ask we receive from him, because we keep his commandments and do what pleases him. And this is his commandment, that we believe in the name of his Son, Jesus Christ, and love one another just as he commanded us. Whoever keeps his commandments abides in God, and God in him. And by this we know that he abides in us, by the Spirit whom he has given us. Now, reflecting on the first part, what I was saying, and then reading this, John's saying, for whenever our heart condemns us, God is greater than our heart and knows everything. Now, that doesn't excuse my bad behavior. That doesn't excuse my not acting in love to other people. That is still a sin and still falling short, like kind of what we've been talking about in the beginning of this. But taking this and applying it to my life is that God is greater than my sin. He's greater than how my heart tries to tell me that I'm falling short. I'm never going to be this good, perfect Christian. Spoiler alert, no one's going to be a perfect Christian. But as a teenager, I was still trying to figure that out. We could look back at verse 7 as we try to figure out what it means to practice righteousness. Little children, let no one deceive you. Whoever practices righteousness is righteous, as he is righteous. Whoever makes a practice of sinning is of the devil, for the devil has been sinning from the beginning. The reason the Son of God appeared was to destroy the works of the devil. No one born of God makes a practice of sinning, for God's seed abides in him, and he cannot keep on sinning because he has been born of God. Now, if this concept of sinning and righteousness is a little confusing, you could think of it as the same way that you would practice any hobby or interest that you have. If you play a sport, you don't practice the wrong way to play the sport. You practice the right way. Now, because you're practicing the right way to play, doesn't mean you're going to get it perfect every single time. You're going to have to unlearn some bad habits. If you're practicing producing music, drawing, singing, website coding, game developing, anything that you're into, you always start at a position of not knowing how to do it, and you practice becoming good at it. That's kind of what this text is getting at, is as believers of Jesus, we are not practicing the wrong way to follow Jesus. We are trying to practice becoming more like him, living the life that he lived, and seeking after that same love and care for people that Jesus had for us. Now, that doesn't mean we're never going to sin again. We are not perfect people, and that's the whole reason that Jesus died on the cross for us. But as you continue to grow in your walk with Jesus, these practices become easier. You don't look at the same sin that you had before and feel tempted by it. I can say that as a 30-year-old adult. Some of the things I was tempted by as a teenager, I am no longer tempted by. And if you're at that position, hang in there, keep following Jesus, and as he transforms your life, you will start to not be enticed by those same sins and things that attract you at this time. And that's what John's trying to get at. That's what I am taking out of this. I am definitely prone to overspeaking, but that is what I'm taking here of chapter 3. This practice of sinning is not something that we're called into. We are called to practice following Jesus and his righteousness. And when you do that, you are righteous because you're setting your eyes on the right thing. You're setting your eyes on like, hey, God, Jesus, I'm not going to seek after the things I want in my life, and I'm going to let you inform and help me make decisions on what you want me to do in my life. As I was reading this morning, I looked back at this idea that we are children of God, we are in a family, and then this call to love one another. I thought about three people in specific: Dean, Hayden, and Medi. Now, if you don't know these three boys, they've all graduated from SCY, but they serve as leaders and content creators for the online spaces. They help me out a lot. They share ideas. It's a great time. I love all three of those boys like they're my younger brothers. I've gotten to see Dean grow up since 7th grade. He was one of the students that first joined Hunter Park when I first started serving here so many years ago. So I've seen Dean grow up from a little squeaky 13-year-old boy with a squeaky voice to graduating and now becoming the young adult he is. All that to say, because of my love for these boys, when the time is appropriate, I offer correction and encouragement and direction for all three of them. When they ask for it, I'm like, hey, this is what I'm seeing, and I'm going to offer this to you because I love you, not because you're doing something wrong, per se, but I want you to be able to grow in ways that encourage you, that lift you up in your faith walk. And that's the same thing we can approach our brothers with. I keep saying brothers because that's what's in my Bible, but that's the same way we can approach our friends, our family, our church communities. That doesn't mean we have to go around correcting everybody at the same time, but true love offers correction at times. True love offers grace and forgiveness. True love gives spaces for people to feel and process things without having to condemn them. True love encourages each other to continue to grow in this faith that Jesus has. That's chapter 3. This is the 3rd week of our Love Letters series. I hope, and honestly, like I said in the beginning, pray that you guys are reading along. I pray that this is teaching you guys something good and new. I hope that God is speaking to you through this. And if He's not, my prayer is that God will. We still have several more weeks in this. We're going to keep reading through the Bible and going through this. And I believe that if you honestly bring yourself before the Lord and ask Him to speak, He will. If you have any questions, any thoughts, I would love to hear them. Feel free to drop those in the YouTube comments, or you can email me. I've sent my email several times. There's a phone number in the description if you would rather text me. If both of those are weird, we have a Discord. All of those spaces, I just want to create the opportunity for you guys to ask honest questions and learn what it means to follow Jesus and read the Bible. I love you guys. I'm praying for you. We'll see you next time.